Jim Carrey was born on January 17, 1962, in Newmarket, Ontario, into a household shaped by humor, hardship, and quiet resilience. His father, Percy Carey, worked as both an accountant and an aspiring musician, carrying dreams that never fully aligned with financial stability. His mother, Kathleen, struggled with chronic illness, creating an atmosphere where emotional survival mattered as much as material survival. From an early age, Jim learned that laughter could soften pain and make difficult moments bearable. He often performed for his family, especially his mother, using exaggerated expressions and physical comedy to lift the weight of their circumstances. This instinct to entertain was not simply talent but necessity. In a home where uncertainty lingered, humor became both shield and language. Even as a child, he understood that being funny meant being noticed, and being noticed meant being valued in ways that poverty often denied in silence, and hope the collapse that changed everything. When Jim Carrey was 12, his family's fragile stability collapsed after his father lost his accounting job during corporate restructuring. The loss was sudden and disorienting, stripping away the sense of safety the family had quietly depended on. Bills mounted, possessions were sold, and eventually the Carreys moved into a Volkswagen camper van parked on a relative's lawn. What had once been a modest but functioning household turned into a daily struggle for dignity and survival. For Jim, school became an unbearable contrast between public appearance and private reality. He arrived each morning carrying the knowledge that classmates returned to homes while he returned to a vehicle. The shame was silent but constant, shaping how he viewed himself. Yet within that hardship, humor deepened its roots. Laughter became a defense mechanism, a way to control how others perceived him before they could define him through pity or ridicule and judgment, learning to survive through work and performance. At 14, Jim Carrey entered the workforce at the Titan Wheels factory, working long shifts after school alongside adults who treated exhaustion as normal life. Factory was loud, repetitive, and physically demanding, leaving little space for imagination. Yet he endured it, driven by necessity rather than choice. At home, his mother's chronic illness and depression deepened his sense of responsibility. He became her entertainer, performing characters and physical comedy routines to break through her exhaustion. These moments were not casual, they were emotional lifelines. He learned to read rooms, to sense tension, and to interrupt it with humor before it hardened into despair. This dual existence shaped him profoundly, factory worker by day, performer by night. The contrast between the mechanical world of labor and the emotional world of performance created a tension that would later define his artistic identity and fuel his ambition to escape limitation. In growth, the first steps toward comedy, Jim Carrey began performing stand-up comedy in Toronto as a teenager, entering small clubs where audiences were unpredictable and often indifferent. He developed a style rooted in physical transformation, pushing his face and body beyond normal expression to capture attention. Many early performances failed, sometimes painfully so, but he persisted with an intensity that surprised even experienced comedians. His father, Percy, played a crucial role during this period, driving him to clubs and sitting in the audience night after night without discouraging him, even when sets went poorly. That steady presence reinforced Jim's belief that failure was not final. Each performance became an experiment in survival, teaching him timing, resilience, and the emotional cost of being seen. These early years were not glamorous, but they were formative, building the foundation of a performer who would eventually redefine physical comedy on a global scale with lasting creative impact and drive Hollywood dreams and the myth of visualization. At 17, Jim Carrey arrived in Los Angeles with little money and a relentless belief that success was inevitable. The early years were marked by isolation, financial instability, and constant rejection from clubs and casting agents. He often slept in his car when work was unavailable, surviving on minimal resources. Yet even in hardship, he practiced a form of visualization that would later become famous. Driving up Mulholland Drive, he would look over the city lights and imagine himself already successful. He famously wrote a $10 million check to himself for acting services rendered, dated years into the future, and kept it in his wallet as a reminder of possibility. This was not naive fantasy, but psychological reinforcement. He combined imagination with effort, believing that persistence and clarity of vision could reshape reality. Those years built the mental framework that carried him from obscurity to eventual stardom and belief breakthrough on television. Jim Carrey's major breakthrough came with the sketch comedy series in Living Color, which premiered in 1990. The show gave him a platform to unleash his physical comedy on a national scale. His characters, including Fire Marshal Bill and Vera DeMilo, became instantly recognizable for their extreme expressions and chaotic energy. Audiences were both shocked and captivated by his willingness to push physical comedy to its limits. Each performance felt unpredictable, as if the character might break free from control at any moment. This unpredictability became his signature strength. The show not only made him a household name, but also demonstrated that comedy could be both aggressive and deeply creative. Industry executives began to see him as a rare talent capable of redefining comedic performance. For Jim, it was the first time his lifelong obsession with expression found a wide and receptive audience, changing his career forever forward. Then the year that redefined comedy, the year 1994, marked an unprecedented turning point in Jim Carrey's career. In a single 12-month period, he starred in Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, The Mask, and Dumb and Dumber. Each film became a massive commercial success, establishing him as the most influential comedic actor of the decade. His performances were characterized by extreme physicality, rapid transformation, and fearless commitment to absurdity. Audiences had never seen comedy delivered with such intensity and unpredictability. The success of these films transformed him from rising talent into global phenomenon almost overnight. Hollywood studios quickly recognized his box office power, leading to historic salary negotiations that positioned him among the highest-paid actors in the world. Yet behind the success, the pace was relentless. The same energy that fueled his rise also began to erode his sense of stability, as expectations grew beyond what any performer could reasonably sustain over time without pause. Completely fame, pressure, and the cost of success. With success came unprecedented pressure. Jim Carrey's $20 million salary for The Cable Guy marked a historic moment in Hollywood, but it also intensified expectations placed upon him. Every new project was now measured against the massive financial and cultural impact of his previous work. Studios demanded constant reinvention, while audiences expected the same explosive energy that defined his rise. This dual pressure created a difficult environment for any artist, especially one whose performances relied on emotional intensity. He began to feel increasingly detached from the persona that had made him famous. The boundaries between performance and identity started to blur. The more he succeeded, the more he felt the need to escape the very image that defined him. What once felt like freedom on stage gradually became confinement off stage, as the demands of fame limited his ability to simply exist without expectation, and personal emotional quiet collapsed. Inside Becoming and Losing Andy Kaufman in 1999, Jim Carrey took on the role of Andy Kaufman in the film Man on the Moon, a performance that would become one of the most intense experiences of his career. Rather than simply portraying Kaufman, he fully immersed himself in the character, refusing to break persona even off-set. This method acting approach created confusion among cast and crew, who often could not distinguish between Jim and Andy during production. The experience blurred the line between reality and performance to an extreme degree. Carrey later described it as both transformative and destabilizing. While the performance was critically acclaimed and earned significant recognition, it also left him questioning his own identity. The deeper he went into the role, the more uncertain he became about where the character ended and he began. It was a turning point that forced him to confront the fragility of identity itself and perception, shift love, loss, and inner darkness. Jim Carrey's personal life during his rise to fame was marked by turbulence and emotional complexity. His first marriage to Melissa Womer lasted from 1987 until their separation in the mid-1990s, a period that coincided with his rapid rise in Hollywood. They shared a daughter, Jane, who remained a central figure in his life despite the challenges of fame. His second marriage to Lauren Holly in 1996 was brief, ending within a year under intense public scrutiny. Behind these relationships, Carrey struggled with depression that he openly discussed later in life. He described periods of emptiness even at the height of his success, where external validation failed to create internal stability. He also spoke about using medication like Prozac during difficult phases, though he eventually chose to discontinue it. These experiences deepened his understanding of emotional fragility beneath public achievement and the hidden cost of constant performance, identity, strain, art, philosophy, and quiet reinvention. In later years, Jim Carrey shifted away from constant film production and embraced a quieter, more reflective life centered on art and philosophy. He began painting extensively, using visual expression as a way to process emotions that words could not fully capture. His artwork often explored themes of identity, consciousness, and transformation, reflecting his long-standing curiosity about the nature of existence. He also became more selective about acting roles, choosing projects that aligned with deeper emotional or philosophical themes, such as the television series Kidding. In interviews, he spoke openly about the limitations of fame and the importance of inner awareness over external validation. His public appearances became less frequent, and when he did speak, his words often carried a contemplative tone. This period of his life was less about reinvention for audiences and more about personal alignment and understanding and a search for lasting inner peace and truth, finally a life beyond performance. Today, Jim Carrey lives a life that is significantly removed from the relentless pace of his earlier fame. He resides primarily in Los Angeles, where his daily routine is shaped more by creativity and reflection than by industry demands. Painting remains a central part of his life, serving as both expression and release. He has spoken about the importance of stillness, suggesting that true fulfillment comes not from external recognition but from internal understanding. His relationship with his daughter Jane continues to be an important anchor, offering continuity and grounding. Although he is still widely recognized for his iconic comedic roles, he no longer seeks the constant visibility that once defined his career. Instead, he appears selectively, choosing moments that align with his current values. His journey reflects a shift from performance for the world to presence within himself, marking a profound transformation in how he understands success and peace.